Welcome back to the Relegation Recap, the show where we break down all the relegation matches here for the Valor series. My name is Paul and Varum Toddkill, joined here by the illustrious Jeff Suijay Chow. Let's start off in Europe talking about these relegation games.
Yeah, the first relegation match is Royal versus Arctic. However, Royal was not able to field a roster, but based on how they did all 6 weeks, they landed at 5th place in the Valor series.
Still a good showing from them. But let's also talk about our second relegation game, the Battle of Spain. Team Queso taking on the Spanish Takers.
Yeah, this is what I'm most excited about here in Verum because Spanish Takers has really shown up. So whoever wins gets to take that Spanish pride with them and say they are the better Spanish team.
Well, let's see how that went. Let's take a look at the games. Game number 1 between Team Queso and the Spanish Takers was an absolute bloodbath. Both of these teams came out early trying to establish dominance. They had some strong rotations into the opposing team's jungles, trying to control the dragon, trying to get pressure on the towers, but it really just came down to a lot of really scrappy team fights. Watch the way these teams are able to weave in and out of these engages, timing out their CC, but a lot of it really came down to some sick mage play on both sides there. And Max, a hero we haven't seen a lot in EU of late, coming in here being a big factor in this game. Team Queso coming out ahead here, but again, it was still very back and forth. Watch as both these teams go in on to the Darkslayer. They both want to control this key objective, but it was the side of Spanish Takers who ended up getting it, and it was this Darkslayer buff that allowed them to get these clutch kills, survive, sustain, get that additional damage, and push in onto the high ground. Team Queso just could not hold back the onslaught. That was Spanish Takers, and with that, they take game number 1. Game number 2 was Spanish Takers carrying over that momentum from game number 1. They looked so strong in this early game, getting sick rotations, getting the picks they needed, and able to shut down all of the aggression of the side of Team Queso. However, it was not over quite yet for Team Queso. They kept their cool, kept their composure, defending here on their base, but it really came down to some sick max play to help keep the team in this game. It looks like Spanish Takers is on the verge of winning this game, but with a clutch Darkslayer steal, they are able to get themselves back into this. Somehow, Team Queso are able to rally here, but again, watch this max play in the mid lane. It looks like all hope is lost here for this team, but Javis is able to actually defend on the core, and this helps keep his team in this. They're able to then turn this around and push all the way back in on the other side of the Spanish Takers. They were able to rally, they were able to make the comeback, and they were able to take game number 2, taking us all the way to our ace match here in this series. Game number 3 was a much more conservative offering from both teams. Neither one wanted to throw away this final game, so they definitely played it a lot more safe and a lot more strategic. Only 5 kills to 4 at the 12-minute mark. There were a couple scraps overall, but it really was the side of Spanish Takers getting the read on Team Queso, not allowing them to get any momentum here in this final game. When they decided to finally push in, they did it with impunity. They were able to get all of those clutch kills, push down all the structures of the side of Team Queso, and with that, Spanish Takers take the series. And with that, in an epic 3-game series, the Spanish Takers take home the victory, and of course, that Spanish pride. But let's move over towards North America. Suijay, let's break it down.
Yeah, match 1 North America is going to be Toxic Pigs versus Uppsala. And unfortunately, Toxic Pigs was not able to field a roster, so Uppsala is going to take that win.
But with a second matchup, an awesome one there. Again, we have 0-9 taking on Reformed. Let's talk about that match.
Yeah, this is the battle of the 2 new teams. They have a lot to show to see which team is the better team. So let's see how the match will play out.
Our next series is 0-9 going up against Reformed. Both of these teams, the newcomers, with a lot to prove here as we go into an aggressive early game from both sides. 0-9 trying to be the ones to establish the pace here in this early game. But they go up against a strong resistance from Reformed. Reformed actually looking very good here, able to get some really solid synergy in this early game, really able to chain that CC, get those stuns lined up, propelling themselves all the way forward to pushing in here onto the core. But of course, the game is not over until the last piece of HP falls. And look at this defense on the core here for the side of 0-9, able to rally without the minions there. The backdoor protection was just too much, and Reformed could not clutch it out. This was actually huge. This was a breath of life that 0-9 needed in this series. They were still a little bit on the back foot here, but that gave them just enough to get themselves back into it, get some towers and infrastructure of their own. Yeah, they're still losing a few heroes here, but it was enough for them. They were able to then sneak a Darkslayer and push themselves forward with this additional buff. That was all they needed to take the game here. So don't forget, it's not over until it's over. A great defense here and a great win in game number 1 from 0-9. Game number 2 found both of these teams carrying that momentum in from that first game. Reformed wanting to prove themselves here after a heartbreaking loss throwing on that core. They're diving in. And 0-9, though, doing a pretty good job of capitalizing on a little bit of overextension, but it was really Reformed looking strong here in this early to mid game, able to convert these kills into structures and able to push in all the way onto the core of 0-9. 0-9 wasn't going down totally without a fight, though, able to get some sick counter kills, but really it came down to this high ground fight. They came in here onto the high ground, but it was 0-9 with a beautiful stun, the chain CC. They rallied and took it back. Reformed did not know what hit them, finding themselves throwing once again on the high ground of 0-9. They were able to snipe themselves out a Darkslayer, but it was just not enough. 0-9 had found their momentum here. They are down a Darkslayer buff. They are down 10k gold, yet somehow they are still able to out-team fight their opponents here, and it was Reformed getting completely shut down in this late game. The momentum that 0-9 built carried them all the way through, rallying in 2 games, going in onto the core and taking this series. Incredibly well done from the newcomer that is 0-9. And with that, in a bloody series, 0-9 take it over Reformed.
Yeah, that was such a bloody series. Game 1 had 41 total kills. Game 2, 39 total kills. What a series there, but 0-9 is the team that comes out on top.
But we're not done with all the great Arena of Valor action. Be sure to tune in for our live finals at E3 on June 12th and 13th, where EU and NA are going to be battling it out to determine who is the best in their region to represent that region for the AWC in July. So thank you all so much for joining us again for the relegation recap, and we'll see you at E3.